Hello everyone and welcome back for some more Drag Race gossip, secrets and drama. So I'm back for another Have Your Say video.
You're joking. Not another one? Oh, for God's sake, I can't stand this.
And this video is for Canada's Drag Race Season 6, Episode 2. So today we're going to be recapping what happened in the episode, going through the results of the Have Your Say poll where you at home voted on whether you agreed with the outcome of the episode. And I'll be talking about some unrelated recent drama to do with Dahlia Sin defending Krystal Versace against accusations of doing blackface. All that and more coming up in today's video, so let's get started. Just quickly before we start, I wanted to say, yes, for the eagle-eyed among you, you may have noticed that I am wearing one of my t-shirts with my Gossip Secrets and Drama tagline. So if you'd like Gossip Secrets and Drama written across your chesticle, then you can head over to my merch store, which is in my YouTube, and it pops up under my videos. You can get one for yourself, because who wouldn't want Gossip Secrets and Drama written across your breasticles? But also, I just want to say, you are all edging me at the moment. And normally I don't complain about that. But what I mean is I'm on the edge, the cusp of 140k subscribers. And I'd love to get to it by the end of the year. It was previously 150k, the goal, but that is long gone. So please can you make sure you just hit subscribe, because I would love to get to 140k and I'm so close. So please can you help me reach the climax of 140k subscribers? Okay, so let's start by recapping the episode. And there's a lot to get through because there's so many queens still, because there hasn't been an elimination. So I'm going to try and get through things a little bit quicker than usual.
Don't make any promises you can't keep.
So we find out the Maxi challenge this week is an acting challenge, and it's when the queens have to create commercials for cruise liners. And the queens then split themselves into 3 different groups, and they get assigned a category. And the 3 categories are Singles at Sea, Self-Care Sisters, and Golden Gaze. We all know my opinions on acting challenges.
They suck.
I don't like scripted acting challenges. What I appreciated about this one, though, is that it's not scripted. The queens were given a prompt for the type of cruise that it is, but all of their lines had to be written by themselves. So I actually appreciate that, because the queens can't then have the excuse of, oh, this line wasn't funny or whatever. They are the deciders of their own destiny by writing their lines. So I do think it's a fairer way to actually judge the queens' acting abilities. A lot of the episode is then taken up with the actual recording of the Maxi challenge on the green screen and everything. It's pretty much standard, you know, some groups struggle, some groups don't. One interesting thing that did happen, though, was that there was some drama, which we all know I love, according to my t-shirt. So what happened was, in Velma and Van Gogh's group, they asked who created the storyline and the lines for your commercial. And I do wonder whether they asked that to be shady, because their group during the writing process had some opinions about certain people thinking they were contributing more than others. And then basically Van Gogh got annoyed because it seemed that Velma was taking credit for doing everything. And then later in the workroom, they had a bit of an argument about it. And they also had an argument in front of Carson Kressley as well. And it was obviously some tensions. But then later, Velma kind of apologized and said she wasn't trying to take credit for everything. And maybe it was a language barrier thing as well. So there was some drama, but it seems that it was kind of resolved. Okay, so let's get on to the actual acting challenge performances themselves, and I'll go through the groups in order in which they appeared. Okay, so the first group was the Rosebud Cruise, and the first person was Ebony LaBelle. I thought Ebony was fine. I don't think she really said that much. She was more the kind of the moderator who introduced people. I don't think her lines were necessarily the funniest. So she was okay, but I don't remember that much about her. So I think I'd give her a just okay. In the Have Your Say poll, I think you agreed. You said 67.4% for just okay, 21.1% for yay, and then 11.4% for nay. After that, we had PM. Now, I don't want to sound like a prude, but I know they kind of mentioned this in the critiques, but I feel like this particular scene was really highly sexualized, but just not in a funny way. It was kind of so overtly sexual, but it was just like, I don't know, I just didn't think it was very funny. I think PM performed the lines and everything well, but to me, it was just so hypersexualized that it just wasn't funny. And it was just kind of, I don't know, there was no funny to it. The only funny was that it was like, you know, touching bananas, which, you know, is a good pastime. I can speak from experience.
I like to keep shut up. You're a whore. You know,
but I just don't know if I thought it was that funny. So I think I'd give it a just okay, but it'd be a just okay towards an A. In the Have Your Say poll, I think maybe you sort of agreed because you said 56.6% for just okay, 26.3% of you said nay, so it seems like you're prudes like I am and you agreed, and then 17.1% for yay. Next up was Hazel. I feel like Hazel just didn't really say that much and her role was just not that funny. It was just very non-memorable. Again, I think she performed it fine, but it was just very kind of forgettable. So again, it'd probably be similar as a just okay, maybe even bordering into a nay, because I think she could have pushed it further. In the Have Your Say poll, it looks like you agreed again, because I'm always right, as we've established in this. I do have a PhD in being right.
Actually, no, that's not the truth.
And you voted. It was almost 50-50 split, so nay actually did come out on top with 48%. Not that far behind was just okay with 45.7, and then yay was 6.3. And then finally in this group, we had Paolo Perfeccion. This was just really not good. I think Paolo did herself a disservice by doing this weird voice. Voices can be funny, but it was just impossible to understand what she was saying, and it wasn't funny enough to be worth it. And I just don't think it was just, I like Paolo as a person. She's very funny and kind of aloof and non-bothered. But in this particular scene, I did not laugh at all. So I'd have to give her a nay. And I think you agreed because you said 76% for nay, so over 3/4, 20% for just okay, and then only 4% for yay. Okay, so next up was group 2, which was Self-Care Sisters, and the first person to appear was Sultina Shaker. I really liked Sultina in this. I feel like she should have had more confidence because she could have delivered this way more. She was still really good though. For someone who lacked confidence, I thought she sold that character of being, the leader of the maybe it's a cult, maybe it's not, kind of that dead behind the eyes that a lot of these cult leaders or politicians have. I thought she actually sold that really well, so I would give her a yay. And again, I think I didn't go to school for math.
I didn't go to school for math.
But I think you agreed because you said 75.4% for yay, 20.6% for just okay, and then 4% of you who must be in a cult and you're therefore salty about this voted nay. Next up was Velma Jones. I thought Velma performed this very well and she was definitely giving actrice, she was really going for it. I don't think it was very funny though. I really thought she was going to be a bit funnier than she was. She performed it well, but the lines were just kind of nothing. I don't know. I really thought she was going to sort of do a bit more than she did. The only bit that was kind of funny was when she was sort of shaking her leg as she fell over, a bit like when a dog has a wee and they're like, but I don't think that's what she was going for. So I would give her a just okay, but a just okay towards the yay side, because I think it could have been funnier. And again, I think you did agree with me because you said 48.6% for yay, so you did vote more on the yay side, but then it was still 38.9% for just okay, so that's still a decent proportion, and then 12.6 for nay. Next up was Van Gogh. Again, I feel like Van Gogh was another one of those who was just very forgettable. I think she did a fine job, but it just wasn't very funny, and I think it could have been pushed a lot further. And I don't just mean pushed like her leg, I mean the actual performance. So it probably would be a just okay. In the Have Your Say poll, you voted 61.7% for just okay, but then nay came out second, so obviously you were more towards the nay side with 25.1%, so a quarter, and then 13.1% for yay. And finally in this group, we had Sammy Landry. I think Sammy suffered with the same thing that Paolo did, that she did this voice that was just quite hard to understand, and it just wasn't necessarily funny enough to warrant having a weird voice. I thought she was probably better than Paolo because at least there was a little bit of a character, but it still just was not very funny and a very forgettable performance. So I think I would have to give it more so a just okay, but going into the nay side of it. In the Have Your Say poll, you voted 49.1% for just okay, 29.1% for nay, and then not that far behind was yay with 21.7%. And then the final group was Golden Gaze, or the SOS Seniors on Seas. And first up we had Dulce. I really liked Dulce. I thought she was a great host / moderator, whatever you want to call her. She was really high energy. I thought she sold it very well. Her lines were pretty funny as well, so she definitely gets a yay. In the Have Your Say poll, you also have great taste because you agreed with me. 68.3% of you voted for yay, so the vast majority. 11.4% for just okay, and then only 2.3% said nay. And then moving on to Caramilk, who was also one of the moderators. The first thing I noticed about Caramilk was her makeup looked really off in this particular scene. I don't know what was going on. She looked really green. And I kept thinking, why is she green? And then thinking, Tamar, do you watch the show?
My question the whole entire time is, why is she green?
Well, Tamar, have you ever watched the show?
And I did see that they joked about this on social media as well, although I don't think Caramilk necessarily gave a reason as to whether this was deliberate or not, because I was wondering, is she green because she's seasick? Anyway, I thought Caramilk was fine. I don't think she was as good as Dulce. So I think it was a just okay, but towards the yay side. In the Have Your Say poll, it looks like you sort of agreed, but the other way around, because you said yay came out on top with 49.1%, but not that far behind was just okay with 44.6%, and then nay got 6.3%. Then penultimately in this group, we had Star Doll. Now these two characters I think definitely had less to say than the other two characters in the scene, so they probably had a slight disadvantage. I think she was okay though. I thought the twerking on the walker was kind of funny. There's only so much you can do with a limited amount of screen time, and the lines were not that great, but I thought she performed it well. So I'd give it either a just okay, maybe venturing into a yay. In the Have Your Say poll, you voted majoritively 53.7% for just okay, but then yay came out second with 34.3% and nay got 12%. And then finally in this group, we had Maya Fox. I think in this particular pairing, Maya was probably less good. It was still a fine performance. I think she sold it well, but again, it was not that memorable to me. So I again would probably give it a just okay. And you voted 62.3% for just okay, 26.9% for yay, and then 10.9% for nay. So I asked you, who gets the slay in the acting challenge? That's me acting, by the way. And you voted 52% for Dulce, 28% for Saltina Shaker, and then 12% for Velma Jones. I was very torn between Dulce and Saltina. I think Saltina's was probably made me laugh a little bit more because I could see the character she was doing, but I do think that Dulce probably gave a better overall performance, so I think I'd give Dulce the slay. So then I asked you which group's commercial was the best overall, and you voted 65% for Golden Gaze, 28% for Self-Care Sisters, and then 6.9% for Singles at Sea. Okay, so let's move on to the runway for this week, and the category was In the Shadows. So let's go in order in which they appeared. First up was Van Gogh. I think this is fun. It's sort of like, a zombie teddy bear. It's a little bit Five Nights at Freddy's, I think, as a reference, because they said that on Drag Race UK for something kind of similar to this. It reminded me of Viola's look. I don't know if there's any relationship. I have no idea what Five Nights at Freddy's actually is. But I liked this outfit. I thought it's fun, it's whimsical, the two faces were good, so I'd give it a yay. And in the Have Your Say poll, you agreed with 52.6% for yay, 38.9%, so a decent amount for just okay, and then 8.6% for nay. After that was Saltina Shaker. I thought this is a really beautiful outfit, and the message behind it, she explained, was that she was in a car accident and has scars on her body, and for a long time she was hiding them and everything, but now she's sort of embracing them and showing the beauty of the body and things like that. So it's a lovely message, but the actual outfit itself is really cool, so I would definitely give it a yay. And it looks like you agreed, although maybe not as much as I thought you would. 63.4% for yay, 32% for just okay. I personally would have given it definitely more towards the yay side, and then 4.6% for nay. After that was Sammy Landry. I thought this look was fun, and this kind of like, I guess it was a horse, right? A horse mask. It was fun. The outfit's okay. It's, it's interesting. Like, it's red on the inside and the fur. I don't know. It's interesting, but I thought she was going to take the mask off. It was kind of giving me a little bit like Valentina when she didn't take the mask off in the lip sync. I thought she was going to take it off. I think she could have just come out with it for a little bit, walked to the front and then taken it off. But yeah, I don't know. It was okay, but I don't think I could give it any more than a just okay. In the Have Your Say bowl, it was actually pretty split. So 46.3% was the most with just okay. Then it was yay with 31.4, but not that far behind was nay with 22.3. Next up, we had Velma Jones. I really enjoyed this look because this was a drag king look, and this is, I think, Johnny Jones is her drag king name. And it's really cool we had this on the runway because it shows that drag kings can compete with drag queens, and you can do different types of drag and it still be in a competition and you can still judge it. We have had a few drag king looks before, so this isn't the first time. I really liked this though. I thought it was a really creative way of doing it. She actually looked really hot. Like I was kind of like, oh, hello, Johnny. Like you can take me anytime you want to your wolf lair. So I really enjoyed this. I would definitely give it a yay. And in the Have Your Say poll, I think you agreed. 85.7% of you said yay, I would agree. 10.9% of you voted for just okay. And then 3.4% of you said nay. So I assume you're one of those people that was Team Edward rather than Team Jacob. Next up was Star Doll. I thought this look was quite cool. And she was talking about it being like a mythical creature from her culture. It's very unusual for her because I think so far she's presented more this kind of very pretty girl, hyper feminine aesthetic. And now she's gone completely the other way. So I would like to give her props for doing something that looks very different at what we've seen so far. It is a cool look. I think the execution could have just been refined a little bit more, but I still liked it. So it would be somewhere between a yay and a just okay. In the Have Your Say poll, you were very split on this look though. It was 41.1% for just okay, then it was 34.9% for yay, but then it still got nay with 24%, so that's still a decent proportion. Next up, we had Dulce. I think this look is fine. The actual outfit, I would say, is maybe a little bit simple, and I did quite like the black tears, but I think obviously there's only so much you can do with covering it because she did try and put makeup on the tube that sort of squirted out the tears. But once I saw the tube, it then kind of slightly detracted from it. But I guess other than having it maybe on your fingers and pulling it down, I guess there's not really another way to do it. So I can see why she did that. But it did slightly take away from it overall. I think it's a fine look, but I probably would give it a just okay. In the Have Your Say poll, the majority of you, which was 58.9%, so almost 59%, said just okay. Then nay actually came out second with 23.4%, but then yay still got a decent percentage with 17.7%. After that, we had Maya Fox. I thought this was quite a pretty look. It's quite safe in the sense that, it's like a black, mysterious lady, dark lady, as Cher would say. It's a perfectly nice look. I think she executed it well. It's nothing we haven't really seen before, but it's perfectly nice. So it would be a just okay, maybe towards the yay side. In the Have Your Say poll, it looks like you were more on the just okay side because it was 61.1% for just okay. Then it was 29.7% for yay, so I would agree it was just okay towards yay, and then 9.1% for nay. Then next up was Caramilk. I thought this was really cool, actually. We haven't necessarily seen something quite like this on Drag Race before. The wings looked genuinely huge and pretty impressive. So I thought this was actually really cool, and it was very much a different aesthetic for her than we've seen so far. So I would give this a yay. And you agreed, quite rightly so. It was 73.7%, so almost 3/4 of you said yay. 25.1% of you, though, which is a quarter, said just okay. I don't know what you were looking at, but personally, I thought this was better than just okay. And then 1.1% of you must really hate bats because you voted nay. Hello, Canada. It is me, Dr. Claudia Poussey. I am here because stupid Matt forgot to talk about the icon and legend herself, Paolo Perfeccion's runway, so I will add it in now. I liked Paolo's concept that it was very, I could wear anything, even a trash bag, and make it look good. And I thought it was very humorous to have the baby and the other rubbish or trash, as you Americans or Canadians would say. So I did like it, although it was maybe a little bit simple. So I would probably give it a just okay. And in the Have Your Say poll, it looks like you did not like it, so you voted 55.4% for nay, then it was 30.9% for just okay, and then it was only 13.7% for the yay. And now we will go back to your non-feline host. Then the anti-penultimate, not just penultimate, anti-penultimate, as many of you have told me to say, is Hazel. I really enjoyed this look, and I definitely got the reference that it was a Kelpie. I don't know what that says about me, that I know these references about mythology, but I did get the reference to this. I thought she executed it really well. It was really fun and kind of quirky but beautiful. I'm glad she took the mask bit off so we could see the face when she got to the end, which is what I think some of the other queens should have done. So overall, I would say yay. And in the Have Your Say poll, you agreed and voted 68.6% for yay, 27.4% for just okay, just a little bit more than I would have expected, and then 4% for nay. Then penultimately, we have Ebony LaBelle. This is a fine look, but I do think it's very simple and kind of safe compared to what we've seen in some of the other people's runways. It's fine, but I don't know. I won't remember it necessarily though, so I think I'd give it a just okay. And I think you agreed with 60% just okay. And then actually it was very split because it was 20% for both yay and nay. So it looks like you couldn't make your mind up either. And then finally we had PM. This was so creepy, but also really cool and interesting and creative, which is very much obviously PM's aesthetic. It was very creepy though. And I agree, this literally is my sleep paralysis demon. This will haunt my dreams for years to come, but I loved it, so I'll give it a yay. And in the Have Your Say poll, 73.7% of you, so almost 3/4 said yay, so obviously you really liked this, 20.6% for just okay, and then 5.7% for nay. So I asked you who would get the pose Vogue.
What was that? Okay.
The sleigh for the runway, as in the best runway, and you voted Velma Jones 32%, then it was Caramilk with 17.7%, and then PM and Hazel came in joint third with 10.9%, with Saltina Shaker not that far behind with 9.7%. I agree, Velma Jones had me howling at the moon with this. I really liked this. It was very cool. The fact that it was a drag king look, but also it was really well done. And she was kind of sexy, I can't lie. So yeah, I definitely would give the slay to Velma. So we find out that the winner for this week is Saltina Shaker. I asked you in the Have Your Say poll, do you agree with the winner? And it was almost a 50-50 split, but no actually came out on top with 52.6%, with yes getting 47.4%. So of that over half of you who said you did not agree, I said, who do you think should have won instead? And you voted 68% for Dulce, 21.7% for Velma Jones, and then Stardoll and PM came in third with 3.3%. So we find out that the bottom three are Paolo, Sammy, and Hazel. And that means the Golden Beaver comes out. So that means the winner, which is Saltina, gets to choose who to save from lip syncing. I asked you in the Have Your Say poll, did you agree with the bottom three? And you voted 60.6% for yes, but then still a decent proportion of 39.4% said no. So I asked you, for those of you who said no, who do you think the bottom three should have been? You voted Paolo came out on top with 81.2%. Then it was Hazel with 46.4%. And then it was actually PM that came out third with 34.8%. So it looks like you would have swapped Sammy out and put PM in her place. Okay, so it comes time for the Golden Beaver to be given out, which means Saltina has to choose who to save. And she chooses to save Hazel. I asked you in the Have Your Say poll, who would you have saved using the Golden Beaver? And you voted 42.3% for Hazel, not that far behind was Sammy Landry with 36.6%, and then Paolo got 21.1%. Okay, so Paolo and Sammy then lip sync to the song Raise a Little Hell by Trooper. And we find out that Sammy wins the lip sync, so unfortunately, Paolo Perfeccion is told to sashay away and becomes the Canadian Season 6 pork chop. I asked you in the Have Your Say poll, who do you think won the lip sync? And you voted 82.9% for Sammy Landry, so a landslide victory for Sammy, and then only 17.1% for Paolo. So moving on to the final two questions, it was, which queen do you think will win the season? And with the majority of the votes, 57.7%, was Saltina Shaker. Then it was Van Gogh with 16%, and third was Velma Jones with 10.9%. But then on a similar note, it was, which queen do you want to win the season? And it's interesting because then it switched, and actually Velma Jones came out on top with 32%. Then it was Saltina, but with much less, with 16%. And then after that was PM with 12.6% and Ebony LaBelle not that far behind with 10.9%. Okay, so let's move on to the comments for this week, and we'll start with my Patreon comments. My Patreon Max said, we haven't seen this much drama, plug for my t-shirt, since Miss Fierce Delicious. And my Patreon Debs said, this drama was chef's kiss during the beaver begging. And by the way, beaver begging is such a funny word. I think that's also a great drag name. Welcome to the stage, beaver begging. My Patreon Patty said, I thought it was really cool that Carson Kressley was a judge. And from what I hear, he'll probably be judging the season. So yeah, I think he's going to be a regular judge from what I've heard. And I'm really looking forward to seeing him. And my Patreon Riot made a good point of saying, Paolo not knowing the words was wild. She lives in her own world and I'm on board and here for it, which I definitely agree with. I'm also in my own world, so I 100% agree with that. But also, Riot made a very good point of what was up with the unfinished editing. Paolo only had a green screen. Now, I think Paolo's was deliberately that, because I don't think that's the color of the green screen. But what I noticed more was, I don't know if anyone else saw this, but when they were showing the photos of people, they were really zoomed in and weirdly cropped. And I thought they were just trying to crop out the faces because maybe they didn't have permission to show them. But then later on, when they showed another image on the runway portion, it was also weirdly cropped. So I don't know who was doing the editing. It certainly was not me, because my editing is way better than that.
Liza Minnelli, lies.
But yeah, I just thought that was a bit weird because I don't think that was deliberate. I think it was just an editing mistake. Moving on to the comments from the Have Your Say poll, there were a lot of comments about Paolo with people saying how much they love her and her attitude. But someone said, I was sad to see Paolo go, but she did not know the words to the lip sync, which I think is very obvious. Another person made a very astute observation, which I said as well. I really love the queens as they seem willing to be themselves for the most part, but production is showing their hand a little bit too much in the judging. And then on a similar note, someone said, they're doing a great job of fleshing out the storylines and I'm loving it. And I 100% agree. And I think that's why so far Canada seems to be a little bit more interesting and entertaining than I think Drag Race UK was, because I think they're doing a good job of actually letting the queens show themselves in the storylines, but also the drama, which we all know and love. But let me know in the comments what your thoughts on the season so far are, and what are your predictions for how the rest of the season's going to go in terms of, are there going to be any more dramas and things like that, and who do you think's going to make it to the end from what we've seen so far? And finally, we're going to talk about some recent drama unrelated to Canada's Drag Race to do with Dahlia Sin defending Krystal Versace against accusations of doing blackface. So recently, Drag Race UK Season 3 winner Krystal Versace posted some photos of her in drag, and her makeup was quite a bit darker than it has been previously. This sparked a huge amount of debate and backlash in the comments, with people saying that Krystal was doing blackface/blackfishing. Just to explain in case you don't know, blackface is the practice of people who are not black painting their face to be black to portray an offensive caricature of black people. It became popular entertainment in the 19th century and was used to spread racial stereotypes, especially during times of racial segregation. And then blackfishing, on the other hand, is the practice of trying to give the impression that you have black ancestry when you in fact don't, and this can involve altering your appearance or the way you speak. Going back to Drag Race, one queen who has been accused a lot of this is Raven. She's been accused by multiple people, including Drag Race queens, of doing blackface or blackfishing, and people often put side-by-side photos of how she looked on her original season compared to now, saying that her skin tone is much darker. These accusations have circulated for a long time, and Raven, I don't believe, has ever really fully addressed it. However, in December 2024, Raven appeared on Monet Exchange's YouTube channel, and one of the topics they addressed was the accusations of blackface. Raven basically said she's not doing blackface, she just likes to tan, and she's never pretended to be black and would never make fun of black people.
I have the ability to get tan.
Yeah.
And I have the ability to go out in the sun and brown.
Yeah.
And when I don't, I go into the tanning bed. When that whole thing first started happening, I was like, uh-oh. And then I remember, talking to a couple of friends about it, and they were like, that's not what you're doing.
Yeah.
And I said, I know that. And they said, well, them. Who cares?
Yeah.
And I said, but I don't want to offend anyone. And they were like, that's not what you're doing.
Yeah.
I understand the history and I understand what blackface is.
Mm-hmm.
I would never do that.
Yeah.
Well, blackfishing comes from catfishing, which means I'm trying to get you to believe that I am this.
Yeah.
You know I'm not.
This is a condensed version of what she said because I can't show the whole thing, but I will link to the whole video on Monet Exchange's channel and I'll put that in the description. So this is just some background information because it is relevant to do with the drama to do with Krystal Versace. After Krystal recently posted these photos and people accused her of doing blackface, people also started making comparisons saying that Krystal was doing the same thing as Raven. Although some people defended Krystal and said it was not blackface, most of the comments seemed to be highly critical of Krystal and said that what she was doing was offensive. Many people also said that Krystal was acting like Raven's daughter. Other people also made the comparison saying that Krystal looks like she has the same skin tone as Tace from Drag Race UK. One person who did defend Krystal, however, is season 12 contestant Dahlia Sin. A Twitter user posted a series of photos from one of Krystal's videos where she was doing her makeup, and the caption said, "We need to talk on how Krystal Versace needs to stop this. Love her, but girl." This post got a huge amount of traction, and most of the comments were heavily critical of Krystal. However, one person who seemingly defended Krystal was Dahlia, who commented saying, "Y'all reaching, it's not that serious. Almost every queen paints darker for drag. As a black queen, I see no problem in this. And y'all in the comments acting like this is blackface is the biggest reach ever. Cut the bull bleep out. Y'all want to find fault in any and everything." Dahlia's comment then got a lot of backlash, with people posting before and after photos of Krystal saying how much darker she looks, to which Dahlia responded saying, "Okay." People also brought up the fact that back in 2023, Dahlia had posted a video of RuPaul and Raven from Drag Race UK, and Dahlia had used the color dropper tool to take the skin color of RuPaul and then put it against Raven's skin color to say that they were similar. So people said that Dahlia was being hypocritical because she had previously criticized Raven for doing this, but now she was defending Krystal. But Dahlia responded saying, "I love how long you have followed me, shows your love a dedication. Ah, love my fans." There were also multiple comments criticizing Dahlia, saying she doesn't speak for all black people, and some people even seemingly implied that Dahlia isn't actually black. However, Dahlia mainly just responded by telling people to leave her alone, although she said it in more direct terms. One of the people who called Dahlia out is Queenie Iman, who is a drag performer and is also the drag daughter of season 13 contestant Tamisha Iman. Queenie replied to Dahlia's comment and said, "Of course your ass would say this." Dahlia responded back to this saying, "And did. What about it, brow bone?" Queenie then said, "I just thought since you have zero talent and would be at least somewhat educated on topics like that, you proved me wrong, sir." Dahlia then replied saying, "Baby, looking the way you look, I wouldn't be talking about no one's talent. And who are you again? Oh yeah, no one knows." Queenie then responded saying, "LMAO, but I wasn't. I was talking about your lack of talent. There was no talent to even discuss. I'm an entertainer, you're entertainment. There's a difference. You'd know that if you could compete further than one episode on a televised drag competition." Queenie later tweeted a screenshot showing that Dahlia had blocked her on Twitter, and the caption said, "Loser." She also posted a few other things saying, "If you're ever down and bad, just remember things could always be worse. You could be Dahlia Sin." Queenie also posted a screenshot of what looks like a DM, and it looks like Queenie said, "I bet the New York City girls keying bad too." And the response said, "Big time, nobody likes her. She's rarely booked here, mostly works as a bartender or barback." Queenie then wrote as the caption on the tweet, "I'd be bitter too if I was on Drag Race, but then had to resort to being bar staff because no one likes me/books me. Your own city doesn't even feature you, Dahlia Sin." Some people in the comments did criticize Queenie for carrying on talking about Dahlia, but Queenie dismissed most of these criticisms. And that seems to be the end of the drama for the time being. Dahlia doesn't seem to have said any more about it since then, and I don't believe Krystal Versace Versace has responded to the backlash against her from what I've seen, so we'll have to wait and see if any of them ever address this topic further in the future. This is obviously a pretty controversial topic, but the reason I'm bringing it up is just to keep you all informed of what's happening, as this topic has been talked about quite a lot in the online drag race world. But as I always say in my videos, please do not send hate to anyone involved. This video is just for informative purposes, so please be responsible in how you consume this content and how you react to it. So there you go, there was another Have Your Say video, this time for Canada's Drag Race Season 6, Episode 2. Let me know your thoughts so far on how you're enjoying Canada's Drag Race, and how does it compare to Drag Race UK. If you'd like to have your comments featured in my Have Your Say video, early access to my videos, exclusive chat function, as well as the unedited versions of my interviews, as well as many other things, please check out my Patreon. It's a cheap way to support the channel, and it really does go a long way. So check it out, and I'll put a link to my Patreon in the description. I'd also like to give a shout out to my amazing Patreon members, including all of my new Patreon members, but also the existing ones. You are all absolutely incredible. Thank you so much for all of your amazing support. It truly, truly does touch my heart, and it makes a massive difference to my channel. Thank you all so, so much. Please make sure you like and comment on these videos to help tell the algorithm to promote them to more people. And make sure you smash that subscribe button and help me get to 140 by the end of the year. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you'll join me again for some more Drag Race gossip, secrets, and drama. Thank you so much. Bye.